What does the week before a marathon look like for running and food? Is there a running equivalent of Newbie Gains? What fuel do I use was another question. Would I ever consider doing an ultra marathon? What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hello, my name is Erica. It's so good to have you. And if you are not new, welcome back. I'm here answering all of your running questions. I know when I started my running journey, I had a million questions and I did a lot of things wrong, which, you know, in hindsight, I'm grateful I learned from those mistakes, but I do wish that I could have reversed a few of those things, such as my 3-week injury that I really could have prevented very easily. So in today's video, I'm going to answer all your questions about running plans, fueling, what clothes to wear, what shoes to wear, how to feel safe on your runs, racing, all that good stuff. So without further ado, let's get into it. Also, if you are new here and have no idea who I am, hi, I'm Erica. Like I said, I'm 27 and I have been running for 2 years. I'm a certified run coach. I'm a certified personal trainer. I have multiple nutrition certifications. I run multiple half marathons. I just ran my first full marathon and I'm training for my second full marathon that I'm running in a week and a half. So I do have a significant amount of running experience and education under my belt, and I'm ready to share that with you guys today. You guys submitted so many questions on my Instagram, so thank you guys so much for doing that. I will link my Instagram and my TikTok down below because I post so much running content on both of those platforms, and obviously also here on YouTube. So if you want more videos from me, go check out all my other platforms. Our first question is, do I think 20 weeks is enough time to prep for a half marathon? And I wanted to answer this question because I wanted to chat about running timelines and programming and following plans, because when I first started running, I had no idea how long it would take me to run my first half marathon. It took me a year to run my first half marathon. Do I think that I could have ran one sooner? For sure. That's just kind of how it worked in my running journey. But do I think that 20 weeks is enough time to prep for a half marathon? The short answer is yes. The long answer is it really depends on where you're coming from. Have you been running? Are you just starting out? And what is your goal? If your goal is simply to run a half marathon and to finish it and cross the finish line, and you don't care what your time is, then absolutely, I think that 99% of people can do that. It might involve a little bit of walking, and if you're okay with that, then amazing. But if you have a specific time goal, then you might need more than 20 weeks if you are brand new to running. So it depends. My number one tip is to download a running app or hire a running coach if you're able to. But if you're not wanting to pay for a running coach, which I totally understand, download an app. The one that I use is called Runna, RUNNA, and it is amazing. It structures your running programming for you. You can pick how many days a week you want to run. It takes into consideration your injury history, your running history, your pacing. It gives you nutrition tips. You can also have strength workouts on there. It's awesome, and if you guys want to try it for free, I have a code. It's Erica2. It gives you 2 weeks for free, but it's what I recommend to anyone, whether you're a new runner or you're a seasoned runner. It's going to be awesome for helping you hit the paces and the goals that you want to hit and just achieve the running milestones that you have set for yourself. But yes, the answer to that question is I definitely think that it's doable, especially if you're someone that doesn't really have a time goal. And personally, anytime I've gone into a new distance, such as my first half marathon or my first marathon, I've never set myself a specific time goal. My goal is always just to finish with a smile and enjoy myself, and I feel like it takes a lot of the pressure away. There's nothing wrong with having a time goal. I just feel like as a first experience, it's fun to just go out and have fun and enjoy yourself and not put too much pressure on yourself. So yes, I think 20 weeks is doable, and it's going to look different person to person. Maybe that requires you to run 3 days a week, maybe that's 2 days a week, maybe that's 5 days a week. You got to figure out what works best for your schedule and your goals. Do I think you need to run 5 days a week to run a half marathon? Absolutely not. I ran a half marathon running 2 to 3 times a week, and that was more than enough for me. I just ran my first marathon a couple weeks ago, and someone asked me, what does the week before a marathon look like for running and food? So typically the week before a race, or sometimes even 2 weeks before if it's a longer race like a marathon, you are going to be tapering. And what that means is your volume or the amount of miles that you're doing per week are coming down, because you need to give your body a little bit of time to rest and recover from those peak weeks of training. And you're also going to want to make sure that you're eating food. You want to replenish all those lost glycogen stores from your runs and making sure that you have lots of carbohydrate stores to run your race properly and well and successfully. So when it comes to training, again, it's going to look so different person to person, but typically your running volume, the amount of mileage per week is coming down, but we typically keep the same amount of runs in. So I actually only ran twice a week training for my first marathon, and that's not typical, but it worked for me, and I was able to successfully run a marathon without stopping and enjoy myself and not feel extremely sore afterwards, which was a blessing. I only ran twice a week, so I still ran twice a week in my taper weeks, and yeah, that's typically how it works. Again, if you follow a program like Runna, it's going to structure that for you so you don't have to think about it, and I would highly recommend that. In terms of food and nutrition, I don't typically increase my food a ton in those taper weeks. Besides the like 2 to 3 days leading up to race day, I try to get in more carbohydrates than I would normally eat. So you might have heard the term carb loading. It's a very common term in endurance sports. It's basically just talking about the day to 2 to 3 days prior to a race where you want to consume more carbohydrates, typically 2 to 3 times more carbohydrates than you normally would be consuming. So personally, I would say on average, I'm probably getting in 250 to 300 grams of carbs a day. So when I'm carb loading, I'll eat 600, 700 grams of carbs per day, and it just helps to make sure that when you're going into your run, your carb stores and your glycogen and your energy are all full, because when you're running, you're going to be burning a lot of those carbs. So you want to make sure you've got a backlog of them, if that makes sense. The next question is nutrition, fueling, and how I structure that. So going off of what I just said, that's the race week strategy, but typically in my training blocks, I am just making sure that I'm getting in enough food. I listen to my hunger cues. I don't track macros anymore. I did for many years, so it did give me a really good understanding of what my body needs. Sometimes people say that I'm not eating intuitively because I have this history of tracking macros, so I like to call it informed eating for that reason, but I'm just listening to my hunger cues. I make sure that I'm getting in enough food, and enough food is going to look different person to person, so I can't give you an exact number, but ultimately I want to make sure that I feel energized on my runs. Not every day is going to feel amazing, but for the most part I want to make sure that I'm not feeling hungry most of the day, that I feel satiated, that I feel energized and like I have enough fuel for my runs, that I'm staying hydrated. So in terms of exact numbers, I'm sorry that I can't give you guys those because again, I don't have them for myself. If I had to guess, and this is just for my body and my energy levels and my exercise activity levels, I'm 5'6", I'm like 135 pounds, and I would say I eat around 2,500, maybe 2,600 calories on average. That's not every day. Again, it's going to fluctuate, and just because you're the same size as me doesn't mean that you're going to be able to eat the same amount of food as me, or maybe you might need more. Again, everything is so person to person, so I hope that you guys find my full days of eating inspiring and gives you meal ideas, but that doesn't mean that if you eat exactly like me that you're going to feel satiated or you're going to be able to, you know, move in the same way as me or have the same body. That's just not how life works. So yeah, that's my nutrition strategy, is just making sure that I feel satiated, I'm getting in a lot of carbs, I'm getting my protein in, and I'm getting in a decent amount of dietary fats as well. Especially as a female, we need that for our hormone optimization. What fuel do I use was another question. So kind of going off the nutrition side of things, the fuel that I use while I'm running primarily are Huma gels, H-U-M-A. I have them linked in my LTK and on my Amazon storefront. I like them because they are the most kind of natural tasting out of all the gels that I've tried. If you've ever tried a goo, they just taste very artificial, which I did like at the beginning of my running journey, but I think as I got further into it and as I started having to take more gels on my runs, after the 3rd or 4th gel, I just could not anymore. So I switched to Huma gels, and they kind of taste like a natural chia jam, which I love personally, and that's just what I personally like for my run fueling. I've also tried Cliff gels, Cliff blocks, gummies. I don't like to chew things while I'm running. I like to just have something that's kind of liquidy, and that's why I like the Huma gels, but you can totally consume whole foods. I know people take dates with them, bananas, pretzels, like candy. You don't have to buy gels. The reason why I like gels is because they go down really easily. They're like packed conveniently in the right amount of like calories that you need, and they have some sodium in them as well, which is important for rehydration. When I run, I bring my gels with me, and I also bring water in my vest, and I take when I'm doing longer runs. So anything over an hour to an hour and a half, I'm taking gels with me, and I will take a gel every 5 kilometers or every 30 minutes. And each gel has about 25 to 30 grams of carbs. So that means I'm getting in 50 to 60 grams of carbs per hour, which is pretty standard for running. And speaking of hydration, somebody asked, how often do you drink water on your runs? I'm pushing 8 now without a drop. I'm guessing they mean 8 miles. So I pretty much take water with me on every run. Sometimes I take Gatorade with me as well. And that's because I live in Vegas. So it is hotter here. And so I'm sweating more. I need more rehydration. I don't necessarily feel like I need as much water in the winter or when I'm running somewhere where it's cooler. I'm not sweating as much, but in general, I do bring water with me. I don't track the exact amount of water that I'm consuming, but typically when I'm running a 13-mile run, so a half marathon, I'm pretty much going through 2 flasks, and I think both my flasks are 500 milliliters, so that would mean a liter of water, and I'm probably sweating out more than that, especially in the hotter temperatures. So play around with it, but I would say if you're not feeling thirsty at all, then you may not need a ton of water, especially if you're living in a cooler temperature. But in general, I would recommend bringing some water with you, even if you're not feeling super thirsty, especially on those longer runs. I think you can definitely get away with it on like a 5 or 10K run. I've definitely done that myself. But on a run that's, over an hour, I would definitely suggest bringing water with you or running on a trail where there are water fountains so that you can drink from those. Because you do want to get ahead of your hydration so you're not dehydrating yourself and then realizing it, 2 hours into your run where you're feeling all of a sudden ill because you haven't had any water. Okay, somebody asked about chafing and, sports bras and how to prevent chafing. I personally have been very fortunate that I haven't chafed a whole lot in my running journey. I did chafe a little bit during my full marathon in kind of my thigh region and then also under my armpit for whatever reason. And I didn't put on any chafe balm or chafe rub before I did that marathon because I don't really deal with a ton of chafing. But now that I know that once I hit that like 3.5, 4 hour mark, I'm probably going to need some sort of body glide. I will be using that knowledge for future reference. But the thing that most runners suggest for chafing is body glide. You can get this on Amazon, probably in like Dick's Sporting Goods. I have it linked on my Amazon storefront if you guys want to go check it out. But that is something that most people will recommend. It's just kind of like a Vaseline type of consistency in like a deodorant stick that you rub on the areas that you are going to chafe, and then it helps to prevent that. So the reason why you're chafing is because of the friction. So if you can have something that helps you glide, it's going to prevent that for you. Speaking of sports bras, I personally have a smaller chest, so I'm not someone that needs something that's going to really strap me in. But in terms of my favorite workout clothes for running, I personally really like Lululemon. I know that it is a higher price point, but the quality really is unmatched, and they have a ton of fabulous high support sports bras. I've got friends that have bigger boobs that love Lulu sports bras, especially the ones that have the clasps in the back. I personally like their energy bra. I like their Scoop V bra, which is not super big boob friendly, but for myself, I think it's really cute and it keeps me held in. I have all my favorite running gear, vests, shorts, sports bras, socks, everything linked in my LTK, which is linked down below. And I post a lot of videos on TikTok about my favorite running gear, so definitely go follow me on there if you're not already and you want more inspiration. But I love Lululemon. I love their Shake It Out high-rise shorts, a favorite of mine. And then again, sports bras, I like their energy bras, probably my favorite. It comes up a little bit higher, it keeps you feeling strapped in, things aren't moving for me. But again, if you have really big boobs, you might want to look at their ones that actually have the clasps in the back. And just to go off of that, in terms of running vests, I get that question a lot, is like, what running vest do you use? Do you think that you need to have a running vest? I don't think you need to have a running vest, but I do feel like it's very convenient and helpful to have your things just on you. Water is in your vest. You can put your keys in there, your AirPods, your gels, pepper spray, sunglasses, like whatever you need, tissues, lip balm, it's in there. So pretty much every run that I do, regardless of the distance, I'm bringing my vest. I know there's a lot of people on TikTok that like to tell you that if you're only running a 5K, you should not be wearing a vest. And to them, I say respectfully, F off, because you know what, if you want to wear a vest and it's convenient and it makes you feel safe and comfortable, then by all means wear a running vest. I have nothing against that, and I will always be a supporter of the running vest. So I wear the Salomon Active Skin 4 running vest. I've been wearing it for probably like a year-ish now, and I love it. I've tried other running vests, but this one is my favorite, and it does come with 2 water flasks, which is awesome, and it's reasonably priced. I think it's about $100, and it comes with the flasks as well. There are cheaper ones on Amazon. You can also look for those, but I like this one. It's very high quality, and I've been able to put it in the washing machine plenty of times, and it's still in great condition. Lastly, for outfitting, you know, clothing, shoes, socks, etc., let's talk about socks and shoes really quickly. Shoes is something that I am so passionate about because that caused me an injury when I first started running. I bought Hoka's, which nothing wrong with Hoka's. I know a lot of people love them. They just didn't work well for me. I bought them because they were trendy and cute and everyone had them, and it caused me to have an injury. So I would highly recommend, if you're starting out running, the only thing that I really feel like you need when you start running is a good pair of running shoes that fits your specific foot. So go to the running store, get your foot fitted, and invest in a high quality pair of running shoes. So important. The rest, you don't need all the glitz and glam. You don't need a vest. You don't need the expensive shorts. Like, just go out in something that is comfortable, but the shoes will make a huge, huge difference. And as someone that does deal with blisters, socks is something that I'm also very passionate about. So I wear Injinji toe socks, which I know they're not like the cutest, but they work wonders. And then I put foot powder in them when it's hot outside, because the powder will absorb your sweat, and typically blisters form from either friction or friction or moisture. So the powder essentially soaks up the moisture that happens when you're sweating and it's hot out, and then the toe socks prevent that extra friction because you have a little piece of fabric in between your toes. So again, I have all of this stuff linked on my LTK if you guys want to look at the ones that I like, but if you are someone that struggles with blisters, I would highly recommend that, as well as sizing up half a size in your running shoes from your normal shoe size, because your feet will swell and expand when you're running, and so if you have your normal size shoe, your toes might start touching the end, and that can cause blisters as well. Okay, someone asked me what has been my favorite run or race so far. That is a hard question. I think if I had to answer that, I would say the Mount Charleston half marathon and full marathon that I've done. My first half marathon was the Mount Charleston half marathon here in Vegas, and my first full marathon that I did like 2-ish weeks ago now was the Las Vegas Mount Charleston marathon. And it's a beautiful course. It starts up at the top of a mountain at sunrise, and you run down the mountain, and it's gorgeous. So I think it's just always going to be like have a sentimental place in my heart. But I am really excited to run the Vancouver BMO marathon because I grew up in BC. I lived in Vancouver for like 8 years, and there's going to be so many like spots that are going to just, it's going to be like a run down memory lane for me. So I'll check back in once I run that race. I think I'm really going to love it, and it's obviously such a beautiful city. Other runs that I've loved, I did a run in Santa Monica that was gorgeous, just on the water, but I haven't done a ton of runs that have been super scenic. So that is definitely something that's on my bucket list, is to do a couple or many races, hopefully, more in the mountains, and then also just in like bigger cities. Oh, I forgot, I did a New York City race. That one was really epic because you ran over the Brooklyn Bridge, through Times Square, through Central Park. That definitely is up there for me as well. That was a really cool one. But speaking of mountain running, somebody asked me, would I ever consider doing an ultra marathon? Yes, that is definitely something that is on my bucket list. I would love to do an ultra. Obviously, you got to work your way up to the ultra distance, but I just love being in the mountains. I just did a hike the other day, and it reminded me how much I love being in nature, and I just think an ultra, it's a whole different sport. Yes, you can run the whole time. I know a lot of people that are doing the 100-mile, 200-mile races. You are doing power hiking mixed with running, which I think I would really love. So that's definitely something that I would love to do in the future. How do you manage training in the Las Vegas weather, dry air, and windy conditions? Not to mention that it's very hot here in the summer. So the wind personally doesn't bother me too much. I just try to look at the weather app and plan my runs around the days that it's going to be really windy, but sometimes you just can't avoid it. And if it is so windy or so hot, I will run on treadmill. Like, that's happened to me before, where I'm like, it's so windy today, but I got to get my run in. I'm just going to run inside on a treadmill. So just know that's always an option. I know treadmill running is not the most exciting, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and I'll just throw on a Netflix show or a YouTube video, and it gets me through my runs. In terms of the dry weather, it doesn't really bother me that much. I personally prefer dry heat over humidity. It just doesn't feel as hot to me. But in terms of the dryness, I would say I make sure that I'm hydrated, and I also have hat on a lot of the time if it's, you know, dust is blowing in my face. And then in terms of the heat, I really try to get up early in the summers and get my runs out of the way when it's cooler. Also trying to run in the shade makes a huge difference. I didn't realize how much running in the shade really impacts my effort level. I have done multiple runs in the morning at like the same time, the same temperature, and just simply being in the shade makes things feel so much easier. So if you can do that, that makes a big difference. Running early, making sure you're staying cool. I also sometimes will bring like frozen water bottles so that my water is cold, it's keeping my body cold, and then it slowly melts over time so that I'm drinking cold water, which feels really good on a run. And I also have routes that I know there are public sprinklers in like public parks that I will run through. Like I will literally run through it and I'll get my body wet, and it really helps to cool you down. So those are some of my tips for hot weather and windy conditions. Is there a way to find safe and beautiful running routes while traveling? That's a great question. So personally, I love to look up parks on, what's the website? All Trails, I think, is a great website to look for running trails. A lot of people will post or comment their experiences using that trail, photos, etc. So just use the internet to your advantage. Use TikTok. It's just, there's so much information out there online. I would say make sure you're being safe. So I always have like pepper spray on me so that, you know, if anything happens, I've got that. Make sure that if you're going to try a new park or route, that you have somebody that has your location, or you're texting someone, this is where I'm going to be, you know, I'm going to be home at this time. If you don't hear from me by this time, call me, etc. So just use all your safety precautions. But in terms of finding new routes in new cities, use social media, like use Google. All Trails is a great resource. Strava also has tons of running routes embedded in there that you can find if you just like search up where you are. So yeah, just use social media to your advantage, because nowadays it's so easy to find new routes to run. Or lastly, something I thought about as well is trying to find a run club in a new city. So let's say you come to Vegas and you've never ran here before. There are so many run clubs that you could just find on social media and go for a run with them as well. That's a great way to meet people and then also feel safe in a new city. Somebody asked how to pick a shoe for a new runner and what to look for. There are so many options. So like I said, just make sure you're going to a running store. Just because something is trendy does not mean it's going to work for you. Go get your foot fitted. Make sure you try it out, walk around the store. A lot of times running stores will also have a treadmill so you can run on there. And a lot of times it will have like a return policy. So if it does feel uncomfortable on your first run, return it, try something else. Typically, I recommend more of a neutral shoe. I know that's not what everyone would recommend, but I think that neutral shoes do work well for most people. And again, it's really going to be a person-to-person like comfort thing. When I started running, I liked a really like hard shoe. I didn't like something that had a lot of cushion, but as I've gotten to longer distances, you kind of need that cushion. So I've gotten to cushier shoes. The shoes that I personally wear, again, it really doesn't matter because it probably won't work for you or it may not work for you, but I like the Asics Gel Nimbus 26s. And then I've also worn and loved the New Balance Fresh Foam 1080s. I know those are pretty neutral shoes and a lot of people do love them, but again, it may not work for you. So I just want to be fully transparent about that. Somebody asked, where do you get the ribbons you wear in your hair when you run? So I wear ribbons in my hair sometimes, especially when I race. I just get them on Amazon, you guys. And again, I will have them all linked in my LTK, so go check that out down below. It's so fun to like dress up and look cute on race day, and I love ribbons. It just makes you feel a little bit extra and gives me a little bit of extra pep in my step for race day. Is there a running equivalent of Newbie Gains? Definitely. I think with any sport that you start, there's going to be those newbie gains. You're going to progress quicker in the beginning, and then eventually you kind of hit this, not a plateau, but your gains are going to kind of level off a little bit and not be as rapid. So yeah, soak it in when you're starting, but I think also just be mindful if you are following a plan. It's so easy. You're seeing those running gains, you're like, wow, I'm seeing all this progress. It's telling me that I need to do a deload week this week, but I don't want to, so I'm just going to push my distance. Trust me. Listen to the plan. You always want to err on the side of caution. Even if you feel like you want to continue pushing and pushing and pushing, you're gonna eventually hit a breaking point. So it's so important to pull back, have those tapers, listen to your body, and not progress too quickly. So again, please, if you can, follow a running plan, and I would highly recommend Runna. I'll leave my link and my code down below. My camera cut out for a second, but somebody asked, what do you least like about running? And my answer to this is just the comparison and the emphasis that people put on pacing. And again, this is like my experience. This is me projecting if I'm being totally honest, because I know this isn't the case for everyone, but just being vulnerable. Like, I definitely get hard on myself sometimes about pacing and feeling like I'm slow and people commenting that I'm slow, and I'm not the slowest runner. I'm also not the fastest runner, but I've had to learn over the years that you kind of just have to block out that noise and remember that it's you versus you. And my main goal is just to have fun, to run injury free, and to, you know, continue to challenge myself and hit goals that I've set for myself regardless of how fast other people are running. So I think the thing that I like least about running right now is just how mean people can be on social media, and how like people are so caught up in pacing when like that's not the point of running. Like, the point of running is to move your body, to have fun, to enjoy it. And I feel like people are kind of missing the plot on that, if that makes sense. Somebody asked, do I see myself doing another triathlon this year? I'm not sure about this year, but definitely in future I could see myself doing another triathlon. This year I already have a lot of travel plans and a lot of race plans that triathlon training just doesn't really permit, like time-wise. Triathlon training is very time-consuming, so props to anyone that is training for a triathlon. I understand how much dedication that takes, and it's just not really in the cards for me this year, but I definitely think in future I would love to get back into it. I just have other goals that I want to hit first. So lastly, before I close out this video, I just want to give you guys a couple quick takeaways from this video. Number one is, remember that this is your journey, not anyone else's, and please take it slow. Like, if you can learn anything from my mistakes that I made, it's take it slow, trust the plan, and don't try and push yourself so hard right off the bat. Progress slowly. That's what the plan is for, especially if you're following an app like Runna. It's going to give you a strategic plan that's building you up week to week. That might feel slow, but that's the whole point. I'd rather you finish all your runs thinking, wow, I could definitely have run further, than finish your run thinking, oh my god, my ankle hurts so bad because I pushed myself too hard. You know what I mean? So remember, it's person to person. I would say if you've been waiting to sign up for a race, just press register and go in with the goal. Obviously give yourself enough time to actually complete the goal, but if you're like, I've always wanted to run a marathon and I don't think I ever will, just register for one. Give yourself a couple months and go into it with the goal of just having fun and finishing with a smile, and let go of those pace goals, especially for your first, you know, marathon, half marathon, 10K, whatever it is. Just go and have fun. I want you to bring back the fun to running. It's not all about racing, and if that's your goal, amazing, but truly it feels so good to just enjoy yourself and be present and like not be like dying the whole time, if that makes sense. Again, to circle back to equipment, I don't think that you need all the bells and whistles. There's tons of awesome running gear out there. I have all my favorites linked in my LTK for you guys. But if you ask me, my one main thing that I feel like you need when you start your running journey, it is a good pair of running shoes that are fitted to your foot. So go to a running store and get your foot fitted for a proper pair of running shoes. Nutrition, just make sure that you are eating enough to fuel your body. If you're feeling really weak, lethargic, hungry, chances are you need more food. Make sure that if you are running more than an hour, that you've got some sort of intra-workout carbohydrate with you. So gels, chews, candy, dates, banana, whatever it is that you like. Make sure you bring those with you so that you're not bonking, and make sure you're staying hydrated as well. Not just water, you also need sodium to stay hydrated. So make sure you're taking electrolytes or drinking a Gatorade or something of the nature. And lastly, just have fun. Use it as an opportunity to meet people, try run clubs, travel to new races if you can. I think that's one of the coolest things about running is it's a great way to explore a new city. It's a great way to meet people, and it's so fun to go and do a race in a new city. Like, imagine going to London to run a marathon, or Paris. Those are huge goals and like things that I would love to check off my bucket list. It's just such a core memory that you're gonna set for yourself, and I think running is a really cool way to do that. Thank you guys for sticking with me through this video. Hopefully that was helpful. I would love to do another running specific Q&A, or just a Q&A in general. If you guys found this helpful, please give this video a thumbs up. Like I said, I have so much running content on all my social media platforms, so go follow me on Instagram, TikTok, wherever else I make content, and I just appreciate each and every one of you for being here. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. It helps out my channel a ton. And with that being said, I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye guys.